Welcome to Ayurveda and Spirituality with your host, Alakananda Ma, a renowned Ayurvedic expert and a graduate of a top London medical school. She is the principal of Alundi Ayurveda Gurukula, a unique apprenticeship-style school in Boulder, Colorado. She is a spiritual mother, teacher, flower essence maker, and storyteller. Join us as we uncover the timeless principles of Ayurveda, discover practical tips for enhancing vitality, and explore the deeper dimensions of spirituality that intertwine with the ancient science of life.
Namaste. Hello, everyone. Today we are continuing our series on friendship, and we're going to have a look at spiritual friendship as described by the English Cistercian saint from the 12th century, from the same time period as Saint Nyaneshwar and Saint Francis of Assisi, Saint Aelred of Rievaulx in Yorkshire, and he wrote this book or this treatise, Spiritual Friendship. I discovered this back in around 1978 or 79 when I was trying my vocation as a Cistercian, and at that time I was introduced to this document that was written by a Cistercian, so it was important to us as Cistercians. And as those of you that know me know, I'd like to set myself big challenges. So I read this at the time in Latin because I had it in Latin to read, and my Latin was much better back then because it was somewhat recently that I had taken A-level Latin at my grammar school. So let's try to understand a little bit about spiritual friendship. The teachings on friendship that St. Aelred gives are based on a treatise on friendship by the ancient Roman Cicero. And his definition of friendship is this: friendship is agreement in things human and divine, with goodwill and charity. Another time we'll look at being able to sustain our friendship with people we disagree with, but for right now, for today, we're going with Cicero's definition. Friendship is agreement in things human and divine, with goodwill and charity. Then we'll also note that just as we said last time we talked about friendship, that we have Maitri, which is loving kindness, and Mitra, which is friend. So in Latin we have amor, which is love, and from that word amor comes amicus, the word for friend, and from amicus comes amicitia, the word for friendship. So the word for love, from the word for love comes that for friend, and from friend, friendship. So love, says St. Aelred, is an attachment of the rational soul. Through love, the soul seeks and yearns with longing to enjoy an object. Through love, the soul also enjoys that object with interior sweetness and embraces and cherishes it once it is acquired. St. Aelred also says that a friend is the guardian of love, even the guardian of the soul. This is a very important thing to have in spiritual friendship. Someone who is the guardian of our mutual love, someone who is the guardian of our very soul. Our friend is loyal, and our friend doesn't go blab, blab, blab. Our friend protects all of our secrets and when he sees or she sees our flaws, our friend puts up with us, our friend bears with us, our friend rejoices with us in our joys, grieves with us in our sorrows. Friendship is a really amazing thing because it is beyond the bounds of biology, in the sense that friendship is not about reproduction or necessarily about raising our children, not particularly about passing on our inheritance, be that genetics or land or money. A friend is definitely something higher, and we need a friend to be the guardian of our soul. We need someone we can talk things over with, someone we can discuss things with, someone we can share things with and know that person's not going to go blabbing. It's going to keep our confidence. St. Aelred said, "Friendship is that virtue, therefore, through which by a covenant of sweetest love our very spirits are united, and from many are made one." So people have always known that friendship is not just something necessary for our mortal life, something biological, but something that is eternal. Friendship is an eternal virtue. And in the Proverbs, in the Bible, it says, "A friend loves always." A friendship that is true is eternal, and a friendship that can cease to exist was never really a friendship. We have that saying, "Fair weather friend." That friend just wanted to get something out of the relationship. We didn't have a real friendship with that person. Aelred goes on to say, "Nothing in human life is hungered for with more holiness than friendship. Nothing is sought with more utility. Nothing is found with more difficulty. Nothing is experienced with more pleasure, and nothing is possessed with more fruitfulness. Friendship bears fruit in this life and in the next." Or we could say, friendship helps us not only in the relative world, but also in the absolute world. In terms of the absolute, friendship is something that endures. It bears fruit, both in having someone we can call up and say, "Hey, can you help me with this thing? I need this." But also someone that we can grow together on a spiritual level, on a soul level. Friendship is so sweet that it's a foundation for all the virtues. And the virtue of friendship destroys all our vices, because we have someone who can call us to account. We have someone who can say, "Hey, maybe this..." We have someone we can be accountable to if we have a friend. That's how come friendship can destroy vices. Not that our friend will criticize us. That's absolutely not the action of a friend. But our friend can provide a source of accountability and help us to check ourselves. Friendship so cushions adversity and chastens prosperity that there's nothing we can really enjoy properly without a friend, says Aelred. When times are hard, our friend helps us to get through it. When we're on the up and up and everything's going our way, our friend helps us keep our feet on the ground and not get carried away. A friendless person has no one with whom to rejoice in prosperity and grieve in sadness, no one to confide in, no one to tell our spiritual experiences to. And then St. Aelred says, quoting from, I think from Cicero, woe to the solitary, because when he falls, he has no one to lift him up. We are really meant to go through life in friendship with friends. The one who has no friends, says St. Aelred, is completely alone. How happy, how carefree, how joyful you are if you have a friend with whom you can talk as freely as with yourself. Someone with whom we don't fear to confess any fault. We don't blush at revealing any spiritual progress. Someone we can trust all the secrets of our heart to. Someone with whom we can confide all our plans. And there's a special kind of union that we get in friendship that's different from a sexual union. It's a union of spirit, uniting spirit to spirit, so that the two become one. And then we are beyond fear, because perfect love drives out fear. When our friend corrects us, we don't feel hurt because we know it comes from love. And when a friend praises us, it's not flattery. Continuing to quote from St. Aelred, the wise man says, a friend is medicine for life. No remedy is more powerful, effective, and distinctive in everything that fills this life than to have someone to share your every loss with compassion and your every gain with congratulation, going through life shoulder to shoulder, carrying each other's burdens. By dividing and sharing, friendship makes prosperity more splendid and adversity more tolerable. The best medicine for life is a friend. We do not need fire and water on more occasions than we need a friend. We cannot get through a single day without a friend. And quoting Cicero, Aelred says, hence Cicero says of friends, the absent are present, the poor are rich, the weak are strong, and the dead are alive in friendship. Consequently, friendship for the rich is a glory, for exiles a country, for the poor the remission of taxes, for the sick medicine, for the dead life, for the healthy a benefit, for the weak strength, and for the vigorous a reward. And we all need many kinds of friendship, but the most important friendship is a spiritual friendship, where we share in the love and knowledge of God. And as we become friends to one another, we grow in our knowledge and understanding of the divine. In friendship, says St. Aelred, we join honesty with kindness, truth with joy, sweetness with goodwill, and affection with kind action. So a friend is a tremendous help on our spiritual path. And particularly to have a spiritual friend, St. Aelred talks about friendship in Christ, but we can also talk about a dharma friend. It comes to the same thing. A friend clinging to a friend in the spirit of Christ, a dharma friend, becomes one heart and one soul with him. So once we make a friend, that friend is a friend for all of our life. And there is a distinction between love and friendship, because we need to love everyone. Our love must be universal and unconditional. We love everyone unconditionally, friend and foe alike. Yet while we love everyone, we cannot have intimacy, profound friendship with everyone. It's kind of a subtle thing, because we want to live in such a way that each person we meet feels as if we are their dearmost friend, feels safe with us, feels comfortable with us. And yet still we must have our dharma friends, our spiritual friends, our friends in Christ, the real friend. And that friendship can never end. So once we make a friend, we can never banish that person. That's one of the things that I have remembered all these decades since first I read this. Those who banish friendship from life, says Cicero, seem to pluck the sun from the universe, for we have no better, more delightful blessing from God. So once someone has become a friend, we can never put that person out of our heart. That person will always remain our friend. Maybe that person will change. Maybe that person will change in such a way, betray us in such a way, alter in such a way that we can no longer have that same intimacy and safety with them. But you cannot put your friend out of your heart. Once you admit someone to your friendship, remain always their well-wisher. Not only having that unconditional love for them that you have for each and every human and animal in the world, but also still loving them as a friend, still watching out for them, still caring for them in whatever way they'll let you. You cannot put your friend out of your heart. St. Aelred says, the source and origin of friendship is love. And love can exist without friendship, as we discussed before. We want to love everyone, and yet we only have intimacy in the sense of friendship and sharing our secrets with certain people. Love can exist without friendship, but friendship can never exist without love. There is that special affection that we have for a friend. We do love everyone, even our enemies, because that comes from, we are commanded to love our enemies. Love your enemies, bless those that curse you, do good to those that hate you, pray for those who abuse you. Yes, but from friendship, we have this affection and love. And when we love someone, because of their spirit, we enter into each other's spirits. And reason is joined to affection. And then we have this amazing love, because friendship is a chaste love. It's not an erotic situation. It's not a romantic situation. But we have to be very careful. So Aelred says, this is one of the most important parts that I have remembered since long back, of this treatise. First, lay a solid foundation for spiritual love. Anyone rising on a straight line to its higher stories should use the greatest caution not to neglect or stray from the foundation, and the foundation is the love of God, to which everything must be referred, everything, whether suggested by love or by affection. Always consider, when you want to add something to your friendship, does it fit the foundation of love and love for God? However, there are many people that we do love, but we cannot welcome them into friendship. We cannot have that intimacy with them. St. Aelred says, not everyone we love should be welcomed into friendship, because not all are suitable. Since a friend is the partner of your soul, to whose spirit you join and link your own, and so unite yourself as to wish to become one from two, to whom you commit yourself as to another self, from whom you conceal nothing, and from whom you fear nothing, then you have to choose and test a person, and finally admit them to your friendship once you consider them right for such a trust. One of my dearmost friends, I like to say I have 3 best friends. One of them, my dear best friend Jane Bunim, departed this life almost a couple of years ago now. She would have turned 80. She had her heavenly birthday, 80, in April, just after Sadananda's birthday. It was such a beautiful thing, meeting in Reb Zalman's class, being interested together in Reb Zalman's teachings, getting together to make a study group to study his teachings, her starting to get interested in Ayurveda, wanting to be a patient, wanting to study Ayurveda, starting to be interested in the ashram, joining the board, supporting the ashram, going into nature together, gradually getting closer and closer and realizing we were worthy to be the dearest of friends. So it takes time. First choose, then test. Finally admit someone considered right for such a trust. For friendship should be steadfast, and by being unwearied in affection. Friendship is an image of eternity. You can't just fall in and fall out of spiritual friendship, exchanging friends on a passing whim as children do. St. Aelred says no one is more detestable than one who harms a friendship, and nothing tortures the spirit more than abandonment or attack by a friend. So be very careful to choose your friend with great attention and test your friend with the greatest care. But once you have accepted your friend, that friend is to be so tolerated, so treated, so encouraged, that as long as he or she does not depart irrevocably from the foundation you have built, she should be so much yours and you so much hers, in body as well as in spiritual matters, that there should be no separation of spirits, affection, will, or opinion. So, St. Aelred goes on to break this down. There are 4 steps in creating the perfection, the summit of friendship. First, choice. Choose wisely. Choose a friend who can be your dharma friend. Don't choose a friend who's going to laugh at Ayurveda. Don't choose a friend who's not interested in the things of the spirit. Don't choose a friend who doesn't care about the earth and the environment. Choose wisely your friend. So first, choosing your friend. Second, testing your friend. And St. Aelred says, test your friend by telling your friend a secret that you don't really mind if it gets blabbed. And tell your friend this secret. This is in confidence. Do not tell anyone. And this has happened to me a few times. I thought someone was a friend. I told them something, and it comes back to me from person number 4. I still love that person. Maybe I even still like that person. But that person is not a friend because they cannot keep my secrets. They cannot keep my confidences, so I cannot trust them. And of course, I forgot St. Aelred's testing part. Test your friend with a confidence that it's okay if it gets blabbed. Test your friend. The third, once you've chosen a friend and you've tested them to see if they're really going to be your friend and stand by you, accept that friendship. Those kind of friendships I tend to label as best friend. Like now that Jane's passed on, my best friend Hilary, she's moved far away. My best friend Joy. My best friend Joy is our medical power of attorney. Our best friend Joy is a person we completely trust, that she's a safe person with real love, compassion, goodwill, real care. She has been accepted as a best friend. And so we come to the highest agreement in things divine and human with charity and goodwill. So how do we choose a friend? St. Aelred says, don't choose a person who's engaged in vices that's not going to respect your friendship. Treat your friend with the greatest care. Someone that doesn't get too quickly angry. Someone that's not too impatient. Choose your friend carefully. Choose your friend very carefully. Test your friend carefully. And admit that person then to your friendship. Finally, St. Aelred says, have no doubt that friendship grows out of love. If you do not love yourself, how can you love another? This is super important because it says in the Bible, love your neighbor as yourself. So if you do not love yourself, how can you love another? From the likeness of the love with which you are personally dear to yourself, you ought to direct your love for your neighbor. So if you are abusing yourself, inflicting disgraceful and dishonest things upon yourself, if you're acting in such a way that you do not love yourself, how can you have friendship? So fit yourself for friendship. By learning to love yourself, by learning to do self-care, by learning to be kind to yourself and to love your neighbors. And in loving ourselves and loving our neighbor, now select from among them, among your neighbors, some to admit on familiar terms to the secrets of friendship, someone on whom to lavish affection and to disclose the thoughts and intentions of your heart. And then he really talks about mirror neurons, which what he didn't know about. But he says friends should so resemble each other that at a glance one takes on the expression of the other, whether it is downcast by sorrow or relaxed in joy. When you have assured yourself that the friend you have selected and tested doesn't want to seek from you anything shameful or ask of you anything shameful, when you are satisfied that your friend considers friendship a virtue and not a bargain, that he's not going to flatter you, he's going to be frank, discreet, patient, strong, and constant in affection, then you will experience this spiritual sweetness. How good and how pleasant it is, brothers, sisters, living in unity. What advantage it is then to grieve for one another, to work for one another, to bear one another's burdens, when each finds it a pleasure to disregard herself for the sake of another, to prefer another's will to one's own, to meet another's need rather than one's own, to oppose and expose oneself to adversity. How delightful friends find their meetings together, the exchange of mutual interests, the exploration of every question, the attainment of mutual agreement in everything, and above all, to pray for one another, to remember one another in prayer. And with this holy love, we embrace our friend as we embrace Christ. We embrace our friend as we embrace the Dharma. We have a real Dharma friend who will proceed with us to our highest potential. Namaste.
Thank you for tuning in to Ayurveda and Spirituality with Alakananda Ma. We hope today's exploration has ignited a spark of curiosity and insight within you. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and share it with a friend. For more enlightening discussions and practical wisdom on Ayurveda and spirituality, subscribe and join our Facebook group, Alundi Ayurveda. To allow us to continue sharing valuable content, consider donating to Alundi Ashram. The links will be in the show notes. Until next time, may you walk the path of Ayurveda with grace and embrace the light of spiritual wisdom in your journey.
Trayambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtiva